Hi everyone, so I thought it'd be interesting to show my process for how I make microtonal music, because I got some comments in some of my previous videos where I made microtonal music and people were asking how I did it. And I don't think this is a very extensively covered topic from what I found. And it's quite easy to dip your toes into this stuff, so I figured it would be a good idea to show how I do it. The first thing you're going to want to do is look for plugins that actually support this, and there's a pretty sizable list. You would be quite surprised. A good source for this information is the Xenharmonic wiki, and I'll leave a link to this in the description. Some of these are paid, some of these are free. If you want to get into this for free, there's Vital and Dexed and Surge. Those are all great free options that even work on Linux, which is great because that's what I use. There's also Pianoteq. This is a physically modeled piano and it has a lot of extensive tuning support, and all of these support SCL files. There's also really popular things like Kontakt, which supports microtuning but requires its own sort of things to work. Like it won't work with SCL files. Yeah, Harmor is on here, so if you use FL Studio you can use Harmor for tuning, but I haven't really dealt with it. I guess you can use SCL files. I've never tried that. But yeah, this is quite an extensive list. Definitely take a look through this list and see if there's any plugins that you already use that are on here, because that'll make this a lot easier. I will say, if you've never tried Vital, it's basically free serum. Dexed is great. It's pretty much just like a Yamaha DX7 for free. Those are the two VSTs that I definitely use the most, so I can't recommend them enough. But so in order to actually use micro-tuning on those, you need to import a special tuning file. And so you can make that on this website called Sevish Scale Workshop. And so how this site works is you type in the scale data here, and then it'll make the scale for you. But they have presets that you can make, like equal temperament, for example, which is what I normally use. Or you can modify the scale after making it. But let's just start with equal temperament. So normally what you would hear in music, actually, you know what, I'm going to use GIMP so I can try to demonstrate this. So normally in a musical scale, we would have like 12 notes per octave. So let's say that this 0 is a C, and then there's all these chromatic pitches that go up until the next C. This 12 is going to sound the same as the 0, except an octave higher. So with a different tuning system, let's say 19, for example. So with 19 EDO, the idea is to have the 0 and the 19 sound the same as the 0 and the 12 here, except there's more notes in between them. But what you have to do is you have to change the spacing. So if I change the spacing, so now they, well, at least roughly match up. But you can see that there's more notes in the same amount of space, which basically means that you have more like flexibility to work with in terms of harmony. There's like intervals that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do with this tuning system with 12 EDO, but there's also other things like 7, where basically it's the opposite. In order to make it fit, I would have to stretch it out, and you'll still get some wacky intervals that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get in a 12 EDO. So basically it's just like a different way of doing a chromatic tuning system. So we're going to make 19 EDO because I feel like that is kind of the easiest one to start with, because it's not too big. You can make it kind of similar to like a 12 EDO. You can change whole steps and half steps to match up sorta with what 12 EDO can do, so you can still have like minor and major scales, which makes it a little bit easier to work with. Some of these other tuning systems are rather strange, but 19 I think is a good one to start with that isn't basically just 12 EDO times 2 like 24, which is a really popular one. I feel like if you really want to get into like different tuning systems, 19 is a good place to start. So Sevish's Scale Workshop has a lot of different ways of exporting files, and if you use Reaper like I do, I actually haven't tried this, but you can do note name maps. But for our purposes, we're going to use an SCL file. That is what I normally use, but as you can see, there's other pitch maps like for Harmor and Citrus, but I'm just going to make Scala. And you can save this wherever you want. I already have one that's like exactly like this, so I'm not going to save it. And you can make however many of these you want. You can try 14 is fun. You can try 22 is fun. 31 is a lot of fun because it's also like 19, where you can make it like a major and minor scale, but it's more cumbersome to work with. It's very in tune though. That one's really good if you want it to sound really in tune. But let's just start with 19 for right now. Now we're going to go into our DAW. I'm going to use Reaper for this, and I'm going to use Vital as an example. Let's pick a preset that's a little bit more palatable than just like a sawtooth wave. Now I'm going to load the tuning file, and I have a few in here, not that many. I need to make more. Let me actually pull up a comparison so that you can see a difference. Okay, so I have one set up with 19 EDO and the other with 12. This is 19. And here's 12. So that's how you import a tuning file, and then normally I just like kind of use my ear for harmony and things like that. I guess I would try to make things like analogous to 12 EDO, just sort of what I'm used to, and I kind of fudge it. You'll just have to mess around with it to get the tuning the way you want. I will show you a little trick. If you want to make a major scale, here's what you can do. So whole steps are going to turn into 3, like steps of 3, so like that. And then half steps are going to turn into a step of 2. Normally in a major scale, it would be a step of 2 for a whole step and 1 for a half step. So it goes from 2 to 3 and from 1 to 2. But it's still whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So that way you can kind of feel more at home when you're using this tuning system. But you have more like in-between areas in order to mess with the harmony in ways that you wouldn't. Like normally this B and a C, like there wouldn't be a note in between here. But in 1980, there is, like as one example. Just play around with it and have fun. Now in Dexed, I believe you're supposed to be able to drag and drop, but well, I use Linux and Reaper, which doesn't really work with drag and drop for anything. So I have to go to, what is it? Param, and then SCL, and then if the stars are aligned, this should work. Yeah, that's how you do it. There's also tons of Dex presets that I found, Dexcart 1.0. I'm going to leave a link to this and the Tanklet presets, because these are a godsend if you've never used Vital or Dexed. There's just tons of stuff. This is like what I use all the time. I love going to percussion, bells, bell 1, and then there's lots of great bells in here. And then pull up like round, however you pronounce that. Like, oh, I love 1980. It's so pretty. Anyway, another one that I want to showcase, for most of these you should be able to figure it out, but Pianoteq, there's a little tip I want to show you. And it's also a bit weird. I believe you need to have the standard or the pro version of Pianoteq, and then you have to go to tuning, and then click in here. And once you're in here, you don't have to do this, but I recommend clicking string tension to change it to a full rebuild, which basically makes it so that it fully rebuilds the piano. Instead of tuning the higher notes down and tuning the lower notes up, it basically rebuilds the whole piano so that the strings don't sound like they're being tensioned in a way that's weird. I can't really describe it easily, I'm sorry. You'll just have to hear the difference for yourself. I guess I can demonstrate it. But you can come over to Scala files, and then there's a recents menu, so I'm just going to use that to quickly open this recent one that I had. And the tuning, for some reason, it's the same Scala file, but it works a little differently in Pianoteq. So you'll have to kind of mess with the tuning to get it to sound right with the other instruments. I don't know why Pianoteq does that, but whatever. So let me show you what the full rebuild sounds like up here and down here versus if I turn it off. Yeah, so if it sounds weird like that, I recommend just changing it to a full rebuild. It just sounds more like a normal, I don't know. But yeah, this is a great tool to have for microtonal, like realistic piano sound. Oh, and I should probably showcase Sforzando is a really good one because you can use sound fonts. You come over here to settings and then use a Scala file, just like that. I recommend that for like a basic sampler, although there's not much control in Sforzando for like ADSR envelopes, which is kind of annoying. Maybe it is here and I just don't know where to go for it, but there's other samplers. Like you can use Contact if you have Contact, but it doesn't have SCL support, but you can use it for tuning. Anyway, this is a really good free tool that you can use. And you know what, just for the heck of it, I'm going to leave a link to like a whole compilation of sound fonts that I have in the description that are from like different video games. Where is it? I have them all downloaded in here somewhere. Yes, the Ultimate Sound Font Pack. I found this somewhere. It has a lot of stuff, including Among Us. Yeah, Among Us. Lots of like video games. If you want to use sounds from video games but have it be microtonal, just put it in Sforzando and use a Scala file. There you go. Now you have microtonal video game music. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else to say. Let's just have fun and bye.